Hi, my name's Philip Horst with Premier Equipment, and I'd like to just do a short tutorial in Farmworks today. A couple things that I'd like to demonstrate and hopefully be of assistance for you. What I'd like to do today is really two things. One is I'd like to merge two fields. So two fields. We're going to use this Don Brubaker as a client. When we look at the farm, there's farm 2 and there's two fields below farm 2. We like to merge these and work with them doing a drainage design on this as one field. We can look at them beside each other, and let's do that. Let's pull up the topography layer for 1 and 2. Looks good. Let's pull up the topography layer for field 4, and it looks fine. However, they are two separate fields, and we cannot draw mains or laterals across this data set in the drainage plan layer. So we like to merge that. The second thing we like to do is, I'll just show you real quickly. I'd like to show you how to correct what we're seeing in field 4 here. Field 4, I can instantly see we have a problem. The data was collected with WM Topo, Trimble WM Topo unit. However, the operator failed to change the point names or the point data set from boundary to interior. When he did the boundary, he collected as boundary, and he kept right on going as boundary points while doing the interior points. So it looks rather odd. So we're gonna correct that. Let's just look at one component of that first. When the data is collected with WM Topo, there's this thing that allows the boundary points to define the outer limits of the survey. If we do a right click on the topographic layer for field 4, there's a little dot beside use survey boundary. If we uncheck that, it's going to say, hey, please create a field boundary because you need one. That's correct. So if we go back to check that, it's going to rebuild it and actually show the data set. The same would be true for field 1 and 2. If we uncheck this, down here, it's going to say please create a field boundary. Fortunately, we can create a field boundary. We can manually create a field boundary and simply bypass the bad naming of the points. So I'm going to clear all of this again, and first thing we're going to do, we're going to want to move the field 4 topographic points over into fields 1 and 2. First thing we're going to do is copy all of the points in fields 4. We'll do a right click and copy. Then we're going to open the topographic layer for fields 1 and 2. We're going to come to the top taskbar and we're going to say edit layer. Next thing we're going to do is do a right click and paste. It's going to take a minute or two till it actually pastes all of these data points into the topographic layer of fields 1 and 2. So we'll just wait a minute. Now we've got them in there, and we'll do a save and close. We'll say OK to that message for now. I'm going to move everything off of that layer list again, and let's just open the topographic layer. Wow, we've got everything, which is good. However, if we go and look at it that way, it's going to say you can't look at it because you don't have a boundary. Let's go ahead and right click on the topographic layer of fields 1 and 2. Say use survey boundary. It's going to rebuild the surface. And we can go ahead and look at it. However, the boundary is limited to the original points. The new points coming in I believe were simply added as interior points, and so there is, when we force it to use the survey boundary, it excludes everything outside of that survey boundary, and therefore it doesn't look at the new points brought in. If we look at the base data, it's all there. So let's go ahead and uncheck that. Fortunately, we can actually edit a boundary or draw in a new one. If we like, we can right click on fields 1 and 2. There's an option called Edit Boundaries. What we're going to do is there's an Include Polygon tool at the top. We're simply going to click around it. We could get a lot more meticulous with this if we wanted to. I'm simply doing it kind of rough. Double click to close it and say save and close. Now we're going to go ahead and we need to refresh the surface so that it sees that new boundary and goes ahead and uses it. Now let's go ahead and look at it, and it has loaded everything. Now we can literally use the drainage plan layer from fields 1 and 2 and draw right across this data set from one end to the other. If you'll remember though that there's going to be some missing data here, even though it sort of contours across it, it extrapolates. There is, you'll want to be careful with the data set here. There's a few ways we could look at it. We can pull up the aerial image, and we can make this as transparent as a little bit of, move this transparency slider, which kind of helps a bit. We can turn on this topography, which allows us to actually kind of see through it. We can also turn on our contours, contour labels, say 1 and 2 for now. Gives us a little bit of visibility on all of that. We can always go back to the base data and look at that. We can move this transparency slider however we want and view it that way. You might want to rename the field for 1 and 2 and 4 combined. That just tells you, you could go into here and say only, and possibly say, you could say do not use, just as a note of what it is, because we've basically sucked the raw data out of there and moved it into fields 1 and 2. Hope this helps. Thanks again for watching this show.